It was the night of March 1st, 1932. Inside the grand home of one of America's most celebrated heroes, Charles Lindbergh's silence filled the halls. Lindbergh, the man who had flown solo across the Atlantic, was not just a national icon. He was a symbol of courage, of modern America. But that night, his family was about to face a nightmare that would shock the entire world. At around 9 p.m., the Lindbergh's 20-month-old son, Charles Jr., was put to bed in the nursery upstairs. The house was calm. The baby was safe in his crib. But when the family's nurse checked later, the crib was empty. Panic erupted. The child was gone. On the windowsill, investigators would later find a crudely written ransom note. The note demanded $50,000 for the safe return of the boy. Outside, there were signs of a makeshift ladder left against the house and footprints leading away into the night. News spread instantly. This wasn't just any child who had been taken. This was the son of Charles Lindbergh, America's flying hero. The case became front-page news across the globe. The press surrounded the Lindbergh estate. Millions followed every update, desperate to know what had happened to the baby. The nation was gripped by fear and suspense. The ransom note set off a series of tense negotiations. Weeks passed. Then, in May 1932, a horrifying discovery was made just a few miles from the Lindbergh estate. The body of a child was found in the woods. It was Charles Lindbergh Jr. The boy had been killed, likely the very night of the kidnapping. The nation that had prayed for his safe return was now heartbroken. What had begun as a ransom case was now a murder investigation. The police had few clues. The ladder left at the scene was handmade, crafted with unusual precision. The ransom notes were written in poor English, suggesting someone with German background. The gold certificates given as ransom became a key to tracking the suspect. For 2 years, investigators followed the money. Slowly, pieces began to fall into place. In September 1934, a breakthrough came. A gas station attendant in New York reported that someone had paid with a $10 gold certificate. That bill was traced to a German immigrant named Bruno Richard Hauptmann, a carpenter living in the Bronx. When police searched his home, they found $14,000 of the ransom money hidden in his garage. The arrest of Hauptmann was explosive. Denied everything, insisting he had been framed, claiming a deceased friend had left the money with him. But investigators believed they had found their man. His handwriting matched the ransom notes, and wood from the homemade ladder was linked to lumber in his attic. The evidence was mounting, and the press called it the trial of the century. The courtroom was packed when Hauptmann stood trial in 1935. The Lindberghs sat through the proceedings, their grief heavy in the air. Prosecutors painted Hauptmann as a cold-blooded criminal who had kidnapped and murdered the child. The defense insisted he was innocent, a scapegoat for a nation desperate for justice. The trial was a media circus. Every detail was splashed across headlines. In the end, the jury convicted Hauptmann. He was sentenced to death. In 1936, he was executed in the electric chair. Any justice had been served. The man who had stolen America's baby had paid the ultimate price. But the story doesn't end there. For decades, questions have lingered. Was Hauptmann truly guilty, or was he an easy target? Some believe the evidence was weak, built more on public anger than fact. Critics argue that handwriting analysis was unreliable, and the latter evidence circumstantial. Others suggest Lindbergh himself may have known more than he revealed. The Lindbergh case left scars on America. It led to new laws, including making kidnapping a federal crime. It also revealed the dark side of fame. Lindbergh, once the golden boy of aviation, withdrew from public life, his family haunted by tragedy. Even today, nearly a century later, the Lindbergh kidnapping remains one of the most infamous crimes in history. It was not just a story of loss, but of a nation's obsession, of media frenzy, and of justice questioned. A case that continues to echo, reminding us how even the most celebrated families can face the darkest of horrors. How the Lindbergh baby was only 20 months old, but his story became immortal, forever tied to America's memory. And whether Hauptmann was guilty or not, the truth of what really happened that March night in 1932 may forever remain a mystery.